The main events of the Stampede take place in the Grandstand Arena. Bull riding, chuck wagon racing, steer wrestling, bronco riding, and even the kids get involved. They're called mutton busters.
So what are we watching here, Kirk?
Well, we're watching steer wrestling. That was a good one. It's a tricky little sport. I heard one fella say, you know, when he was trying to make an impression on somebody who hadn't seen it before, it's kind of like hanging out your car window, go 40 miles an hour, and then just grab the next mailbox you see.
These guys really take a beating. Good thing there's a medical tent nearby. Another tradition you have to try at the Stampede can be found at Buzzard's Restaurant. Prairie oysters, a cowboy delicacy. We've got au naturel. Kind of rubbery. We've got mixed nuts. Sounds quite good. And we've got great balls of fire. It's a bit sweeter. I prefer the mixed nuts. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who don't know, prairie oysters are bull's balls.
The highlight of this festival is the chuck race, which is reckoned to be the best in the world. Chuck wagons were originally used during the Civil War by army surgeons who employed them as movable hospital units. The races, on the other hand, are steeped in a long-held cowboy tradition. If you rode into town with your friends and you were the last to arrive, you'd have to buy the first drink, which promptly predicted a mad race to the bar.
You gotta have some serious cojones to do this. I mean, I would know. I just ate some.
Also in July, I make my way to Pont-l'Abbé, France, for the Fête des Brodeuses. The fête takes place in southern Brittany, which was settled by the Celts in 200 BC, and their culture still prevails.
This parade is the kickoff for an all-day celebration of local Celtic culture called the Festival des Brodeuses. Brodeuses, which means seamstress, are those ladies wearing the high lace headdresses and embroidered clothes. Each style is a little different depending on which town or village they come from. Practically all of southern Brittany is represented here today.
Since the beginning of the 12th century, the region's economic cornerstone has been the lace industry. These local ladies are the town's authentic brodeurs.
So Marie and Anne actually wear these incredible headdresses every day in their homes, when they go to the shopping. No, quand vous allez au marché, when you go to the store, vous portez. Oui, they go to the store with their headdresses. You go everywhere with your headdress. See, it's a tradition.
It requires up to an hour for an expert to put the headdress on correctly. Just 20 years ago, more than 3,000 women wore them every day. But now only a few hundred do, and most of them are elderly women that like to wear them to church on Sundays. Also in July, I'm joining the Géant parade in the French city of Douai.
In many of the towns of northern France, they have these giant families, these families of giants. And once a year on a Saint's Day or a Carnival Day, they come out and they greet their beloved townspeople. And I'm in Douai because Douai is famous for having some of the largest, oldest, and most authentic giants, and that's Mr. Giant.
The festival kicks off on Saint's Day, when 100 giant puppets made of wickerwork take to the streets to greet the public at large. This tradition dates back to the early 16th century, when the Catholic Church set out to encourage popular expressions of piety. Today, however, piety seems to be the last thing on the giant porter's mind.
At any point during this three-day festival, the porters get to park these giants at any bar in town, and they drink for free. No wonder this festival
In August, head to London in England for a spectacular West Indian party called the Notting Hill Carnival. Notting Hill Carnival is the largest street festival in Europe. It's held on the last weekend of August in the heart of Ladbroke Grove. The festival is a giant procession of colorful Caribbean-style costumes, masquerades, soca and steel bands which wind their way over a route over some 3 miles.
Carnival is split up into 2 days, really. Today is family day, so there are lots of little kids running around, people of all ages. And then tomorrow, from what I hear, is the full-on adult extravaganza. I'm going to leave that part up to my imagination. What's your name? Rossi. How is Carnival for you? Yes, good. How many times have you come? Every year since I've been about two? Since you were 2. And you're what, 45 now? 12. 12.
Every year, up to 1 million people attend the Notting Hill Carnival, London's most raucous street festival of the year. Also in August, Ian Wright travels to the Tehuka region of Japan for the Amuri Nabuta Festival.
Nabuta are floats made out of paper, representing legendary stories. They date back to the 9th century, when a beleaguered general built a large Nabuta to frighten the enemy. Today, they take a year to make, and are judged before the winners are placed on barges and pushed out into the bay. In a couple of hours' time, all these floats that you see are suddenly going to come alive.
The Nabuta Festival takes place over 6 days and is one of the largest festivals in Japan, attracting more than 3 million visitors from all over the country.
Right, this is it. It's actually about to start. This is our Nabuta, which means float. Everyone has their own legend, yeah? And this one is about, there's the samurai, that's his helper. Samurai's lost the battle. He's going to kill himself. And his manservant is fending off the attackers. That's why he's got them arrows in him. Here it comes. I'm going to get trampled.
Over 20 Nabuta floats are pulled by people in the streets of Amuri City, and it's a festival where the public actively participates, egged on by some 200,000 shouting dancers.
See, the thing is, when you're a bit knackered because you've been dancing, you need a little pick-me-up. And what's better than a little bit of sake? And have some? Yeah? Yeah! Is that a bit small for me? I need a bigger pot. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, yeah! Whoa, let's get back in there! It's actually slowing down now. Look at me, I've gone festival mad. I love it. I can't get enough of them. In fact, I think I'm turning Japanese. Whew.
Venice is the place to be in early September. And first up, we have the gondola race of the year, La Regatta Storica. It started as a competition between the nobility's gondoliers as a way of commemorating a military victory. But the pageantry has developed to impress visiting foreign dignitaries. What an incredible way to see Venice. The procession of gondoliers is made up of the city's various rowing clubs and prestigious organizations. Dressed in historical costume and steering long gondoliers, they ride the entire length of the Grand Canal and upon finishing, make a salute of oars to signal the start of the actual races.
Signor Finarello is the man to know in Venice. He got me a place of honor on the boat. It was the most incredible experience I've ever had. And now we have a place of honor here in this incredible palazzo.
Races run all afternoon and range from women's competitions to 8-man crews. But the biggest event of the day is the Race of Champions. It's a showdown between pairs of the city's finest gondoliers.
They're coming. Are they coming? Can you see who's in front? This is it. This is the final lap of the big gondoliere race. Which one is it? Is it Rudy? Ivo? There's a lot of distance between the two boats. That's it, the violet one. That's Ivo, Rodolfo, Cesar, San Paolo d'Este. Dignitaries, and they're the toast of the town, they're the big stars. That is until next year at the next regatta.
Countries proud and true like to remember their history, and there's no better way to commemorate the past than by staging a merry old reenactment. Across the channel, medieval England comes alive when Ian Wright visits Berkeley Castle for its August festival. The centerpiece is Britain's biggest jousting tournament. There's also a reenactment of the Battle of Algerborn of 1415 between the English and the French when Henry V conquered Normandy and key French cities after a brutal 100-year war.
British, so proud of their heritage. We like nothing better than getting together at weekends, wearing colourful, tight outfits, pretending it's the 15th century. Me, feeling a little bit underdressed, so I think I'm going to have to get more involved. Look at this. Apparently, it's a lord's outfit. They're going to terrorise some peasants. Here's a bit of history for you. You know that which is like a naughty insult, yeah? Where it comes from is if you're an archer, you use those two fingers to shoot with, and if the French caught you as an archer, they'd cut them fingers off. So when the English won a battle, they'd be like that to the French. Oh, look, I still got my two fingers, yeah? I like that. Oh my God. Who's that kid? Oh, I'm really sorry. No, you'll be all right.
Still in August, Christina Chang travels to France to visit the annual Châteauneuf-du-Pape Wine Festival.
I'm here at the Châteauneuf-du-Pape Wine Festival, which celebrates all things wine.
Châteauneuf-du-Pape is located in the Provence area of southern France and translated means the Pope's new castle. The festival is held every year in the first weekend of August to celebrate the first reddening of the grapes, which are now ripening to be turned into the finest of wines. Wine lovers flock from all over Europe dressed in medieval regalia to exalt the historic splendor of this papal town.
This is my favorite part of the festival, a fountain that spouts wine, and the best part about it is it's absolutely free. Not bad for wine that comes out of a faucet.
In neighboring Belgium, there's a celebration of medieval pageantry called the Omegang.
It's quite spectacular. Pulling over my dress.
Omegang has been the most famous festival in Brussels ever since it was established back in 1549 as a tribute to the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, whose kingdoms were so vast that he was described as ruling an empire in which the sun never set. The Omegang means walkabout in Dutch, and it started as a religious procession organized by the prevailing Spanish sovereign of the day. If you're traveling in the eastern states, particularly in the summer months, you may very well come across one of the many Civil War reenactments.
Is the site of one of these bloody and historic battles, and I've come here to witness an enactment of the battle and to get a greater understanding of the Civil War.
The yearly battle reenactment at Standard Hill commemorates a local skirmish in February 1864 fought between the Unionist North and the Confederate South. The Civil War defined the nation, and that's one reason why it has such great appeal to both history buffs and the public.
It wasn't all doom and gloom during the war, and now that I have my dress, I shall go to the ball.
The festival ends with the Soldiers' Ball, where famous Civil War personalities like General Lee are present.
Oh, General, but of course. Thank you.
During the Civil War, a dance like this was one way of forgetting a fiery trial of battle, at least for an evening. In October, Zhe Harding travels to the Fujian province of China for a spectacular festival honoring the birthday of a 1,000-year-old goddess, Mazu.
I understand this part. This is what you keep on you for protection.
Finally, in mid-December, the sleepy English town of Rochester comes to life to celebrate the life and works of Charles Dickens.
Welcome to Rochester's Dickensian Festival!
Christmas is in the air here in the small town of Rochester, and we're going back in time for a Christmas with twists, with carols and chimney sweeps and people dressed up because it's the Dickensian Christmas Festival.
The Dickensian Christmas Festival is a reenactment of Dickens' greatest novels, and people come from all over the world just to have the opportunity to dress up as some of his most unforgettable characters, such as Ebenezer Scrooge, Fagin, and Oliver Twist.
This little chalet is where Dickens wrote most of his novels. This is where all those colourful characters came to life. And nowadays, people all over the world love Dickens' stories. They've been turned into some great theatre plays and some fantastic movies.
Dickens was born in 1812, and in his lifetime wrote some 30 novels. Amazingly, his writings have been translated into 150 languages. Dickens was deeply affected by his father's time spent in a debtor's prison when he was a boy, and as a result, Dickens became a defender of the poor and a strong advocate for social reform. He wrote about the plight of the needy in such heartwarming stories as Tale of the Seven Poor Travelers, set here in Rochester on a snowy Christmas Eve.
We are reenacting Dickens' procession through Rochester, Six Poor Travellers. Dickens himself created another one and making him the seventh traveller. He stopped at this house where he spent overnight. He's now bringing the turkey for the Six Poor Travellers, including himself, which he hands out to the poor.
All the poor people, step forward. Look at her. free slice of turkey.
What I really do admire about Dickens was that he was really there for the rights of underprivileged and poor people and really made some fantastic changes through his writing.
He made people aware of the fact that there was great poverty. And his writings are just amazing. His work, you just have to read them to see what a good writer he was. And even the Muppets did Christmas Carol. It's great. Every year, 30,000 people turn up at this particular event, and it's true to say that Dickens' characters are as vivid today as when he wrote them.
I've had such a great day. I'm here with my friends, and we're going to go off and sing a few carols now.
Festivals come and go throughout the year, but some truly stand out and remain in our memory long after they have finished. Here's our choice of our 5 greatest festivals. At number 5, we have the biggest cowboy rally in the world, the Wild World Calgary Stampede. In at number 4, it might be cold, but it warms the cockles of your heart. It's Dickens Festival in Rochester, England. At number 3, it's the gondola race of the year, La Regatta Storica, which takes place in the most beautiful sinking city in the world, Venice. An undisputed number 2 are the brilliant and illuminating prayers offered to heaven at the Taiwan Lantern Festival. But the daddy of them all, our number 1 festival, must be the Glastonbury Festival of Contemporary and Performing Arts. It's where you can strip naked, roll in the mud, get married, and dance to your spirit's content.
Stay tuned for a special Globe Trekker Extra. Funding for this program is provided by Subaru. The world is a playground. Question is, are you getting dirty enough? Subaru, all-wheel drive, proud and logical sponsor of Globe Trekker.
You can find out more about this series on our website. Programs from the Globe Trekker series are available on videocassette, and selected titles with extra features on DVD. Music from the series is available on CD. You can also order the new Globe Trekker Annual, featuring information on festivals, events, and outdoor activities. A companion book, Great Festivals of the World, is also available. To order Globe Trekker products, call 888-565-0361 or visit the website www.globetrekkertv.com.
Neil Gibson put on his best boots to tackle the Rash Peak Trek in the Karakoram mountain range in northern Pakistan.
That's the beast I'm about to tackle, right down there. It's advisable to prepare a fitness regime months in advance for a trek. I just read that yesterday. My trek takes 3 days, ascending a total of 7,000 feet. We cross 2 glaciers and camp for 2 nights before reaching the summit of Rush Peak. Porters are essential. Remember to settle fees before you leave, to avoid disputes. Well, this is it. The very start of the trek. About to descend onto the ice down at the glacier. I've got my guide, who I know I'll be safe with. There's even a bloke with a gun. I suspect he's there to kind of shoot me if I get a broken leg. Anyway, hold on, Babu, wait for me. One impressive chunk of ice. So why has it gone grey?
When this melted, then it get grey.
So the noises I can hear is the glacier melting?
Yeah, yeah.
Should we we very quickly, Babu?
Yeah. As soon as possible. Chalo, chalo.
You can easily get lost in glaciers. They look deceptively simple to cross, but are full of hidden dangers. The trail can change from day to day. Unstable ground and deep crevasses make your guide indispensable.
We stay night on the bottom of this hill, and tomorrow we have a hard journey up the top.
Don't shoot, don't shoot. Come in peace with tea. I have some tea for the shepherds.
Shepherd tea, yeah.
Can I have some breakfast for some tea?
Okay.
Okay. Very good. What is this?
This is cheese, you know.
Cheese?
Yeah.
From the goats here?
Yeah.
Right. Mm. Looks like porridge, but it's definitely goat's cheese. Very mild, but sets me up for the day perfectly. I'm exhausted. That is spectacular. How high are we at the moment?
Now we are at the 13,000 feet, which is 4,160 meters.
That's what my lungs feel about that small, is it?
Yes, now we want to go another 2 hours camp.
You give it a piggyback. So we've got a very big day ahead tomorrow as well.
Yeah, tomorrow is the bloody hard there. Grass is too high. We want to go 2,400 high from here.
Always be aware of the dangers when climbing high in the Karakorans. People are injured or killed here every trekking season. Never go without a guide.
Yes! Oh, yes!
East of Pakistan in Nepal is the mother of all mountains, the awesome Mount Everest. Trekking in Nepal ranges from full-scale climbing expeditions to strolls along footpaths. You can join a group, hire porters and a guide, or just do it yourself. When you're trekking at these heights, altitude sickness is always a danger.
We had heard about 2 people dying of altitude sickness, and they were basically at still lower altitudes.
I had a head pounding, like in the temples and stuff, and that was about it.
The reason was because he had just gone up too fast and had not listened to any of the warning signs of high altitude sickness.
People in our group did have slight nausea, and they had to stay a couple days where they were.
Higher you get, obviously, the thinner the air gets, so your lungs and your heart have to work harder and harder to get the air into your body. The thing is, you've got to know the symptoms and how your body works, otherwise it can get fatal. The hospital at Kunde sees too many trekkers who have gone too high too quickly. Jim, what are you pumping in there?
I'm just pumping in regular air from the room.
Yeah, that's all right. My ears are popping.
Okay, this is a hyperbaric bag. Portable fabric with a zipper that's airtight.
Is it like a decompression chamber then?
It works in the same way.
How long do people stay in here?
Normally they get better in an hour or 2.
An hour?
And some people aren't getting better because they ought to be.
Yeah.
They may be in overnight.
Jim, someone's cut the cheese in here.
Yeah.
Jim? 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 Joke's over, come on! Jim? Once he's top Sherpa and he's been up to the top of Everest. Is it twice?
Yeah, just
twice to the top.
Great, this is the route.
To the Sherpas, it's Chumulungma, mother goddess of the world. To you and me, it's Everest. And Wanchu has taken me up 4,500 metres above sea level to get a glimpse of the highest mountain in the world. Which one's Everest, Wanchu?
That's Mount Everest.
Oh, the one there, in between them.
Everest.
Yeah.
See the Mount Everest.
Why do people put prayer flags high up in mountains?
Every mountain has a god.
Yeah.
And then this tide day in the rock.
Yeah. Can I put my scarf on this, the one that was blessed by the Lama, eh?
It's a good idea. If you put here, how many times the wind blow, you get the good luck, this good luck the future.
What is it called? Juniper?
Juniper, this will give the god and the happy.
Yeah. How many different routes are there up to Everest?
Everest in Nepal side, the 4 route.
4 routes.
And then the normal route costs $70,000. And then another 3 route is $50,000.
Is it cheaper going up the back way?
It'll be cheaper, the difficult route, 20,000 cheaper.
And there's no easy way up Everest? Yeah, I can believe that now. God, it does look good, doesn't it? Next time I come, I'm going to climb Everest.
The Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you. In 1917, DR-1 fighters. Royal Air Force patrol of Sopwith Camel fighters is climbing high over the front lines. A dogfight begins, and Allied troops in the trenches below see a Sopwith Camel break away, chased by a distinctive red Fokker triplane. The Red Baron pursues his quarry, piloted by Lieutenant Wilfred May, deep into Allied territory. But as the Baron prepares to strike, a second Camel, piloted by Captain Roy Brown, dives steeply to intercept him. Bursts of machine gun fire from ground and air erupt across the Somme Valley. But instead of Lieutenant May spinning to his death, it is the red triplane that has plummeted from the sky. Ten days before his 26th birthday, Manfred von Richthofen is dead. The great pilot and tactician had broken one of his own key rules, pursuing a risky low-level chase into enemy territory.
Manfred, of course, was a human being, and a human being is not without faults. And he had been very serious about the question of life and death. And he must have known that one day he would be a victim himself.
At the end, he was feeling very fatalistic. On his last leave, his mother was going with him to a family gathering, and he mentioned that he had a toothache. She told him to go to the dentist, and he said, no, it really doesn't matter anymore. He knew then that he would never come back.
A feeding frenzy of souvenir hunters scavenged the red triplane as rumors flew that von Richthofen was dead. It was a huge propaganda coup for the Allies. But who shot down the legendary Red Baron? That question has divided aviation buffs and historians for decades. Wasting no time, RAF 209 Squadron pressed home the claim of their man, Captain Roy Brown, citing his combat report as evidence.
I dived on a pure red triplane which was firing on Lieutenant May. I got a long burst into him and he went down vertical and was observed to crash by Lieutenant May.
My dad was totally convinced to his dying day that Roy Brown was the person that shot down the Red Baron. He never wavered from that, nor did he have any facts to tell him any different from that.
For his daring attack on von Richthofen's tail, Captain Roy Brown was officially credited by the Board of Inquiry with the famous kill. The Canadian airman became celebrated as the pilot who shot down the Red Baron. But there were dissenting voices. Several Australian gunners claimed to have brought down the triplane when they fired on it from the Molencourt Ridge overlooking the River Somme. On the day of his death, several medical officers examined von Richthofen's body. The Baron had been killed by a single .303 bullet that entered below the right armpit and passed forward and up through his chest, emerging just below the left nipple. On his return to base, Captain Roy Brown discussed his attack with Lieutenant May, the Baron's intended victim.
Roy and my dad had talked, and Roy had told him that he had brought his aircraft down at a very steep angle to intercept them as they were going along, and he came in from behind and attacked, made a quick pass at the Red Baron, fired some shots, and was out of the picture almost immediately.
The crucial question that has perplexed investigators is whether Captain Brown, attacking from above and behind, could have fired the fatal shot. And if Brown were not responsible, which of the many Allied soldiers on the ground was in a position to have killed the legendary Red Baron? Manfred von Richthofen was born into minor Prussian nobility. His father was a cavalry officer, and young Manfred inherited the hunter's appetite and instinct.
He had a very happy youth. He was athletic, he was strong, he was joyful, and he very much liked shooting, riding, swimming, all what young boys do.
His father used to take him hunting as a small boy, and he was very successful even as a child. His sister once said that he had the eyes of an eagle.
His destiny seemed clear. He would join the Imperial German Army, where his athleticism and horsemanship would lead him into the cavalry. When the Great War began, the traditional role for cavalry was reconnaissance. But a new war demanded new tactics. Stalemate between the trenches and miles of barbed wire soon made mounted troops obsolete. So the new technology of aviation took on the vital role of spotting enemy trenches, artillery, and troop movements. Aircraft became the eyes and ears of battle.
There were scouting pilots, and of course there was some reticence from high command, especially from the old cavalry officers, that aircraft would be of any use whatsoever, and they were very much seen as something experimental, something fancy, and we'll stick with the tradition, thank you very much.
But in only the second month of the war, air reconnaissance revealed the hidden direction of the German advance on Paris. The early air forces had proved their worth. Yet these aircraft were still fragile, underpowered, and unarmed. Pilots and observers took to the skies, brandishing rifles and service revolvers. The aerial arms race was about to begin.
As they tended to meet aircraft in the air more often, these pilots and observers decided to take upon themselves to have a pop. As a soldier, it was a natural thing to do, to try and shoot at your enemy, who after all is the opposing side and you are supposed to be killing.
Stranded in the cavalry, von Richthofen envied the exploits of the new Knights of the Air, the young men who took to the skies to gather vital information for the ground forces below.
He got bored and he wanted to have a more exciting role in this war, and he thought to be trained as a pilot would take much too long time. He wanted to have it now, and therefore he was quite happy going in reconnaissance and bomber flights as a companion, but not as a pilot.
Von Richthofen transferred to the German Air Service, and in May 1915 traveled to Cologne to join an observer flight training program.
I sat in an airplane for the first time. The blast of wind from the propeller disturbed me greatly. Everything flew away from me. My flying jacket slipped off. My muffler was too loose. In short, I was miserable.
It was an unpromising debut, but von Richthofen would soon get the chance to show his true talents, his hunter's instinct and deadly marksmanship. The machine gun had transformed the ground war. Was there a way to somehow get it airborne?
They had to devise some means of firing a gun through the rotating propeller, rigidly fixed to the airplane so that it could be steered by steering the airplane. And of course the big problem was propeller avoidance.
The breakthrough came with a dashing young French aviator named Roland Garros, already famous for winning a string of air races in the pioneer days before the war. Now he had become a test pilot for Raymond Saulnier, a leading aircraft designer. Saulnier was experimenting with various devices that would allow a gun to fire safely through the path of a rotating propeller. One simple, though crude solution was to fix metal deflector wedges to the propeller blades of his airplane.
The idea being that when the machine gun fired, if a bullet hit the steel wedge, it would be deflected away from the wooden propeller. Sometimes it split the bullet, sometimes it came back at you, so this was gutsy stuff.
In February 1915, Garros intercepted a German reconnaissance aircraft. Within seconds, he sent it burning to the ground. The kill was followed by at least 2 more victories.
Garros absolutely confounded the Germans that this airplane coming towards them with the rotating propeller, they thought they were perfectly safe, and suddenly it started spouting bullets. So there was confusion in the ranks.
But his success was brief. Soon after, his engine failed behind enemy lines and Garros was captured. Meanwhile, a brilliant young Dutch designer working for the Germans, Anthony Fokker, came up with an improved solution to the firing problem. Capturing Garros aroused German interest in Fokker's work. Fokker thought the steel wedges were too crude and risky. A better idea was a mechanism that linked the spinning of the propeller to the firing of the gun. In a few weeks, Fokker perfected his so-called interrupter gear, an engine-driven system of cams and pushrods which operated the trigger of a Spandau machine gun. The mechanism allowed the gun to fire only when the bullet would miss the propeller blades. Fokker had delivered to the Germans the holy grail of the air war, a synchronized forward-firing machine gun.
You could put the line of the gun close to the line of the airplane, directly in the pilot's eye view. So in the act of pointing his airplane at the target, he was effectively looking straight down the line of his gun.
By the autumn of 1915, the German Air Service had the upper hand. With their synchronized front-firing gun, the Fokker monoplanes, or Eindeckers, were arriving at the front with their ambitious young pilots. Among them were Max Immelmann and Oswald Bölke.
Bölke and Immelmann did begin to learn the language of aerial warfare. The aircraft wasn't that good, but it was reasonably maneuverable, reasonably fast, and best of all, it was great at diving. And that was what they actually used to devise some of the early fighter tactics.
The young German aces were admired and envied by Manfred von Richthofen, who was still stuck as a gunner in twin-engined bombers. He wanted to become an aerial fighter, like Oswald Bölke. Then, a chance encounter with his idol changed Manfred's life.
Among us, Belka was the only one who had shot down an enemy airman. I asked, "Tell me honestly, how do you really do it?" To which he laughed and replied, "Good heavens, it is indeed quite simple. I fly in as close as I can, take good aim, shoot, and then he falls down."
Von Richthofen saw his destiny.
Berke told him, if you want to have my experience, you must fly and you must become a pilot. And then he decided to go through the training and become a pilot.
While von Richthofen learned to fly, Belka and Immelmann were preying on Allied reconnaissance planes and inventing the first fighter tactics.
Try to place yourself between the sun and the enemy. Attack when the enemy least expects it. Never turn your back and try to run. Foolish acts of bravery only bring death.
Belka was really the father of aerial tactics. The early years of the air war were the era of the lone hunters. You had aces in particular who would go up, hide in clouds, look for a lone victim, pounce, try and take them by surprise and shoot them down.
Slow two-seater spotter planes like the British BE-2C were particularly vulnerable.
Beware of the Hun in the sun. The British really had a problem on their hands. They were being shot down to such an extent, actually, that the pilots were calling themselves Fokker fodder. It was having an effect on morale, and we really needed to come up with some idea of how to tackle this.
To counter the threat, Brigadier General Hugh Trenchard responded with a new tactic. He ordered that all Allied reconnaissance planes had to be supported by at least 3 other armed aircraft.
People realized that they had to work together in the air. They couldn't just fly willy-nilly about as they wished. This was the whole idea of a formation. You may have been weak on your own, but in numbers you were strong.
Greater safety in numbers gave the Allies a better chance. But more aircraft in the skies meant an escalation of aerial combat or dogfighting.
There's one rule, really, which is to kill the other guy before he can kill you. And if you can see him before he can see you, then that's 90% of the battle over.
As the Great War entered the spring of its 3rd year, both sides launched major offensives to break the stalemate between the trenches. First came the German push of Verdun, then the Allied counteroffensive of the Somme. Both failed. Epic, unrelenting slaughter would haunt a generation. This was war unlike anything seen before. Eyes in the sky now counted more than ever to the armies on the ground. New reconnaissance aircraft could transmit Morse code by wireless to the ground, delivering real-time intelligence that could help turn a battle.
The reconnaissance aircraft were the only ones that carried wireless during the First World War, and they were willing to pay the very significant weight penalty involved for these fragile aircraft because of the tremendous military advantage it gave to be able to talk in real time to the artillery battery to coordinate their fire, rather than having to spot the target, fly back to the artillery battery, land, and tell them where the target was, by which time, of course, it could well be too late.
Into this arena stepped Manfred von Richthofen. Now qualified as a pilot, he cut his teeth flying support sorties, first in a 2-seater, then an Eindecker fighter. But as the carnage of Verdun and the Somme dragged on below, Allied pilots began flying new, speedy biplane fighters armed with synchronized machine guns. The seesaw of technological advantage now swung back to the Allies. The Germans, on the defensive, needed a new plan. All eyes looked to their top ace, Oswald Belka.
People like Belka had the idea of forming dedicated fighter groups, the so-called jasters, with the best pilots and the best machines, which would go off and hunt the Allied aircraft and could be concentrated on particular sectors of the front, so that even if the Germans were outnumbered overall, at the key point in the key times, they might have at least numerical parity, if not sometimes superiority.
Bölke hand-picked his flyers. One was the young man he'd inspired to become a fighter pilot, Manfred von Richthofen. Bölke drilled his new protégés with his tactical principles. His Jasta II squadron quickly notched up victory after victory.
Bölke was looking for aggressive, capable pilots with the killer instinct that really characterizes all successful fighter pilots. They needed to have the situational awareness to know what was going on around them in a dogfight. They needed to have good marksmanship. All those things I think he saw, particularly the marksmanship and the ruthlessness in von Richthofen.
Toward the end of 1916, the new Jastas were gaining the initiative. With the arrival of the fast Albatross fighters in September, German air supremacy was regained. Bölke doubled his score to 40 victories, but at the height of success, he was killed in a mid-air collision with one of his own men. A month later, Bölke's successor was shot down by a British patrol. Its leader, the skillful ace Lano Hawker, would soon be drawn into a fateful aerial duel. His adversary was Manfred von Richthofen. In just 2 months, Manfred had notched up his first 10 kills. Now the rising star took off in his Albatross and ambushed Hawker's DH-2 squadron. The wheel of fortune was about to turn again.
I think you can see this combat as being the end of an era in a sense. It's marking the end of the aerial superiority that the British had managed to achieve over the battlefields of the Somme. The DH-2 is incredibly maneuverable, and Hawker obviously very talented. Richthofen had the advantage of speed and armament, so what then happened was a deadly game of tail chasing.
Both of us flying like madmen in a circle, first left and right. I was acutely aware that I was not dealing with a beginner. Finally, he tried to escape by flying in a zigzag course. That gave me my chance. My opponent fell, shot through the head, a mere 150 feet behind our line. Another few minutes, and he might have escaped.
Here, Manfred really found somebody who was matching him, and he was the lucky one because in the end he could bring him down, but he really respected his competence and talent.
Hawker, the daring British ace, was buried beside the wreckage of his airplane. He was von Richthofen's 11th kill.
He shot to kill whenever possible because that was the best way of eliminating an enemy. If you shoot down the plane, you still have to contend with the pilot, but if you got the man, then you got both.
On January 10th, 1917, Manfred von Richthofen was appointed leader of his own squadron, Jasta 11. Fast gaining a fearsome reputation, the new commander painted his Albatross bright red. The legend of the Red Baron was born.
You needed to recognize each other, and it's from that you start getting aircraft being painted either in squadron colors or in individual colors. And for Richthofen to actually paint his aircraft completely red, it did become a talisman.
One of the things that his men liked about him the best was that he would not let them down. He was always there, always watching, always trying to get them to improve. He would keep his eye on all of his men at the same time. He could be engaged in a very difficult single combat, yet when he came down on the ground, he was able to tell each man what he had done right and what he had done wrong.
Throughout the spring of 1917, the German Jastas wreaked havoc. On the ground, the Allies launched an attack on the stronghold of Vimy Ridge that cost both sides a total of some 30,000 casualties. The killing in the air was equally brutal. Allied reconnaissance and fighter support for the offensive below was annihilated. In a single week of what became known as Bloody April, the Royal Flying Corps lost 75 aircraft. Its teenage pilots were often going into combat with as little as 18 hours flying time. They learned fast or died. The life expectancy of a new pilot in 1917 was a matter of weeks. Man for man, the proportion of those killed in action in the skies may have even exceeded the carnage in the trenches below.
And the whole month they'd shot down 362 Allied airplanes. Richthofen and his men and the chaps in other units, they created havoc in April 17. The Royal Flying Corps never had such serious losses. It was the worst month of the war for them.
In Bloody April, Allied losses in the skies outnumbered the Germans by 4-1. Von Richthofen's personal tally was now 52 kills. He was the leading ace of the war.
He didn't mind having a kill which was completely defenseless. Indeed, he preferred it. He would tend to avoid combat where he perceived any risk, but he would go in when he thought he was able to achieve his kill. He would go in very, very close, and he would fill the enemy with lead.
In the wake of their severe losses, the British began delivering new aircraft to the front. The SE-5A, a fast and powerful climber. The Sopwith Camel, one of the most maneuverable fighters ever. And the Bristol, a versatile two-seater that could hold its own as a fighter. The pendulum of war began to swing back to the Allies.
These aircraft were almost as good, if not better, than the Germans. There was an essential parity of technology in the sky. One British aircraft may have done something slightly better than another German aircraft, but it was swings and roundabouts. And from that time on, the war in the air was more about numbers.
The Germans couldn't replace aircraft as quickly as their opponents, so they tried a new tactic. They combined Jasta squadrons into larger units that could be moved around to key pressure points on the front line. These mobile fighter wings, the famed flying circuses, proved highly effective. The first one was led by von Richthofen.
They were like a firefighting service because they didn't have the numbers to be able to take on the British and the French everywhere along the line. So what they did was they'd pack up their aircraft, go by road, set up camp around 3 or 4 airfields around a town and fight until the danger was over and then move elsewhere. So they were like a travelling circus.
Despite the great success of the flying circus, von Richthofen was no longer so sure of his own invincibility. In a skirmish with British two-seaters, the Baron suffered a severe head wound that nearly cost him his life.
The head wound affected his personality pretty severely. He started to have headaches frequently, depression. He'd had a concussion, of course, and that affected his brain a little bit. But he started to become a little more grouchy, and for the first time he had a sense of his own mortality. He knew that he was not going to survive the war.
But in the remaining months of his life, the Baron acquired a vital new combat advantage. Anthony Fokker, the designer, had been working on a revolutionary new fighter aircraft, the DR-1 triplane. In August 1917, he delivered it personally to von Richthofen. The DR-1's triple wing gave it the ability to climb rapidly and turn on a dime. In von Richthofen's skillful hands, it was a lethal machine.
It had tremendous advantages in maneuverability, and von Richthofen would have liked it for that because he was able to fly it to its limit and make almost certain that nobody could ever get on his tail.
As the war entered its fourth year, the aerial arms race reached a climax. War had transformed the fragile flying machines of 1914 into high-powered, heavily armed fighter airplanes. By 1918, the skies above the Western Front witnessed a terrifying dance of death.
This is the era of the dogfight, and some pilots said actually that by 1918, if there weren't 60 aircraft involved, you couldn't call it a dogfight. Great swirling beehive of activity and danger in a box of air a mile square. Quite extraordinary sight to see.
Such deadly aerial warfare was unimaginable back in 1905, when the Wright brothers' offer to develop a military aircraft had been rejected. The United States had fewer than 300 unarmed airplanes when President Wilson declared war on Germany in April 1917. It took a year before regular U.S. squadrons arrived at the front, flying mostly French-built fighters. 2 American squadrons flew British Sopwith Camels and were attached to the RAF. Aces like Eddie Rickenbacker would soon become America's first war heroes of the air. Germany was determined to counter the mounting Allied threat before American arms could prove decisive. The final German offensive of the war began in the spring of 1918. More than ever, the German forces relied on their mobile flying circuses to clear Allied planes from the skies. The Baron's own circus was soon in action. And on Saturday, April 20th, von Richthofen scored his 79th and 80th kills, shooting down 2 Sopwith Camels. Billeted at this small chateau, von Richthofen was just 2 days from going on leave. But fatefully, he had one more day of flying combat. The morning of Sunday, April 21st, 1918, was unusual. The wind, which normally ensured that most air combat occurred over German lines, had reversed direction. At 9:45, the Baron took off with 2 small formations of Fokker triplanes. A little after 10:40, they spot a patrol of 5 Sopwith Camel fighters from RAF 209 Squadron and turn to face them. As the dogfight begins, 2 novice pilots, 1 German, 1 Allied, are under strict instructions to remain above the fray. Von Richthofen is babysitting his young cousin Wolfram. Likewise, Wilfred May, a new recruit from Canada, has been ordered by Captain Roy Brown not to engage the enemy.
Roy told him to not get involved in any flight, to get up on top, watch, get used to seeing other aircraft in the air, don't do anything stupid and come back alive. He was frightened out of his mind, I'm sure, at that point.
As fighting erupts, May stays above the combat as instructed. But when he sees a triplane tantalizingly close, adrenaline takes hold and he decides to attack. The pilot is Wolfram von Richthofen. The Red Baron's eagle eye quickly spots the danger. Suddenly finding himself under attack, May breaks away from the fight and dives desperately for home. Sensing his 81st victory, von Richthofen closes in to get behind May. Eyewitnesses on the ground spot the two fighters heading down the Somme Valley. Moments later, a third airplane is seen. It is Captain Roy Brown giving chase to protect his young recruit. Von Richthofen attacks. Although the Camel can fly faster than the triplane, May shows his inexperience by zigzagging, which slows him down.
He was doing things that you shouldn't do with an aircraft. He was really frightened at that point and didn't know what to do, so he started flying very erratically. He was doing tight turns, he was zooming around trees, very close to the river.
Von Richthofen fires again, but at least one of his guns jams, and May is reprieved. Now over Allied territory, ground gunners are trying to get the red triplane in their sights. Over the village of Vaux, both planes narrowly miss the church belfry. Meanwhile, Captain Brown dives steeply to make his attack on the Baron. He unleashes a quick burst of fire and pulls up and away sharply to avoid hitting the ground. The Baron continues his pursuit of May up the steep slope of the Morlancourt Ridge. Over the crest of the ridge, Australian gunners Buey and Evans let rip with their Lewis machine guns. And just below the crest of the ridge, another Australian, Sergeant Cedric Popkin, swings his Vickers machine gun into action. The red triplane makes a sharp turn back toward the German lines, then stalls and lands roughly in a nearby field. Lieutenant May is saved.
There was a cloud of dust, and then at that point my dad quickly flew over the scene and then headed back to Bertang, to the airdrome.
Manfred von Richthofen, the greatest ace of World War I, was dead, shot through the chest by a single bullet. Why did Germany's master tactician break his own rules, pursuing Wilfrid May far into enemy territory, low down and all alone? A crucial factor may have been the change in the wind direction. Instead of the normal west to east, it had turned east to west, and it probably carried von Richthofen over the Allied lines far more quickly than he anticipated.
It's very easy to get incredibly disorientated when you're that low down, because all your landmarks have gone. You can't see that village, you can't see that church spire, you can't see that enemy battery over there.
Von Richthofen is at fault in not watching behind him and taking care of his own security as he usually did. It's a case of target fixation, and he's got tunnel vision focused exclusively on his target.
I think he broke his own rules because he was suffering from post-traumatic stress, and he didn't care anymore. He didn't really want to fight, but he was not able to let himself be taken away from combat. He didn't want to shirk his duty, so he just let whatever happen, happen.
Yes, he disobeyed his own rules for reasons which we do not know, which we cannot pursue nowadays, but he did, and he paid it with his life.
Von Richthofen's uncharacteristic errors have perplexed scholars, but above all, controversy continues over who brought him down. The RAF officially credited the kill to Captain Roy Brown of 209 Squadron. But was it, in fact, a bullet from Brown that struck the Baron?
My dad didn't see Roy Brown attack the Red Baron's aircraft. All he saw was that the Red Baron all of a sudden turned away and broke off the fight. After he talked to Roy, and Roy said, I came in and I shot at the aircraft, he said, then you saved my life.
Von Richthofen's body was taken to an RAF base at Poulenville, where several medical examinations were carried out. They showed that he had been mortally wounded by a single .303 bullet that had entered several inches below the right armpit and passed up through the chest, emerging just below the left nipple. Both Allied aircraft and ground gunners used the same .303 ammunition. The direction, distance, and timing of this fatal shot are vital clues that have been constantly debated. Starting from the medical reports, author and aviation historian Norman Franks has been reinvestigating the mystery.
Once we looked at the pathology, I interviewed 2 or 3 eminent pathologists, and they said that the sort of wound that he would have suffered would have given him no more than 12 to 20 seconds of life once he was hit. Just enough to get down.
I've asked a few pilots about this, those that were there, and one in particular, Rudolf Stack, a Bavarian, he was flying that morning, and he reckons that Richthofen was still alive when he landed, because he said the triplane was so touchy to fly, it was absolutely impossible for it to land smoothly on its own.
Although mortally wounded, had von Richthofen somehow managed to wrestle his aircraft safely to the ground? 80 years after the event, an important new piece of evidence surfaced in a letter from the son of an Allied soldier who claimed to be the first to reach the crashed triplane.
My father's officer sent my father down to take the pilot prisoner, which my father did. My father was the first man to the aircraft, and the pilot tried to say something in German to my father. The pilot then sighed and died.
This added a whole new dimension to the final moments of Richthofen's life, and confirmed that the aircraft came down intact. It was practically flown down. Richthofen was still alive, which nobody had known about before.
If von Richthofen was still alive on the ground, the shooter must have fired at him no more than 20 seconds or so before he landed. Was Captain Brown at the right spot and at the right angle to have fired the fatal shot? A second new piece of evidence now emerged. It was a large collection of correspondence from the 1930s between a former World War II RAF officer and surviving witnesses of the Baron's last flight. It had lain neglected for 60 years. In the collection was a letter from an Australian engineer called Derbyshire, who was watching the action from the Somme Canal. Crucially, he was in a position to see both von Richthofen and Captain Brown.
I turned to look at the 2 leading planes just going over the ridge, heard a burst of gunfire, and the Fokker stopped in its stride and did the first half of a loop, then straightened out and fluttered down out of sight as if doing a pancake landing. By this time, the 3rd plane was just approaching the ridge. I was amazed later to hear that the Hun was brought down by a plane, as the chaser was not firing at the time the Germans stopped.
Derbyshire's statement was a vital clue.
He saw the triplane coming back over the ridge, rear up, and then crunch down in a forced landing. That, to us, indicated when he was hit, which was way past Brown's attack.
After the war, Captain Roy Brown chose not to make further statements about his attack on the Red Baron.
Roy was quite convinced he had shot that red triplane down, and he never wavered from that. If there was any reticence, it's just that he hated the war. He was a sick man at this point. He was looking out for his men, worried about them all, and not wanting to to become a hero in anybody's eyes. He was just doing a job.
When contacted in the 1930s, Roy Brown continued to refuse to answer any direct questions.
There's no point by making any statement when official records are in existence.
Captain Brown probably fired on von Richthofen from behind and above left. But as the medical reports showed, the Baron was hit by an upward traveling shot to the right side. After more than 80 years, most of the evidence fails to support Brown's claim. So who did fire the fatal shot? Ballistics tests can reveal the effect of a bullet fired from different ranges.
3, 2, 1.
When a human body is hit, there's an explosive effect called hydrostatic shock. The closer the range, the greater the wound damage.
If the bullet had struck von Richthofen at close range, I would have expected a more explosive type wound. Now, the evidence is that the wounds were actually probed by the medical staff after he'd been shot down, and they were actually able to follow the bullet path through the body.
A low-damage, low-velocity hit would indicate a long-range shot. Moreover, one of the medical orderlies actually found the .303 bullet that had killed the Baron.
The fact that the bullet was found intact inside the clothing of Richthofen is another indicator that it was a long-range shot. And I would say that would be probably 600 yards plus.
Australian gunners Buey and Evans were in range and could have hit von Richthofen, as they claimed, some 20 or 30 seconds before he is known to have died. But by their own testimony, they were firing face-on to the triplane, so they could not have hit von Richthofen on the right-hand side.
So we asked our gun expert, what do we need to look at? He said, have you got somebody who knows what they're doing, 600 yards away, and he's firing at von Richthofen's right side? We said, yes. He said, there's your man.
Perched on the slope was the Australian gunnery sergeant Cedric Popkin. He had followed the fight and now swung his Vickers gun through 180 degrees in case the red triplane reappeared. He was in luck.
In our view and final analysis, the best candidate for bringing down von Richthofen was Cedric Popkin, Australian sergeant, machine gunner.
Though he was their greatest foe, the Allies buried Manfred von Richthofen alongside their own dead on April 22nd, 1918, with full military honors.
It is very sad and ironic that he was killed at the height of his competence and success. On the other hand, he would not have survived as a kind of symbol for chivalrous warfare as he has in being killed.
With the new evidence about von Richthofen's death, we may be closer to the truth, but eyewitness testimony always leaves room for doubt. The circumstances surrounding the Baron's death will continue to be shrouded in mystery.
I don't think that the world will ever know for sure who shot the Red Baron down. That's a question that will go on in the minds of people for years and years and years.
In death, Manfred von Richthofen became an icon of a period that saw the dawn of aerial combat and modern warfare. His legend grew, not merely because of his 80 victories, a score which would not be beaten until World War II, but because his dashing career recalls a brief era of innovation and heroism, although it came at unthinkable cost to human life.
I think the Red Baron's real achievement was his legacy of squadron tactics. And it wasn't just that he developed them, but he actually wrote them down so that people could use them and still do use them today. His other achievement was his love of technology and pushing to get the best aircraft produced as quickly as possible.
In 4 short years, aerial combat had evolved from an amateurish sport to a deadly, efficient killing operation. But now, the evidence of von Richthofen's death suggests a final irony. If he indeed was killed in action by an old-fashioned gun from the ground, the Red Baron may never have lost a dogfight.
Who does this stuff belong to?
Wait.
Stick around and meet Neil Tyson, host of Nova Science Now.
Next time on Nature. Designed for stealth. Primed to strike. They hunt in cold blood. But for snakes, there's much more to the thrill than the kill. One of a 4-part series. The Reptiles. Coming soon on Nova. Engineering skyscrapers of the future. What have we learned from 9/11?
The public felt the steel was fireproof.
Suddenly the columns snapped.
What's been done about it since?
We need more fire-resistant buildings, more resistant to collapse. Those things were obvious within the days after the event. We have taken a very long time getting them into our codes.
Building on Ground Zero on Nova.
Hi, I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson here at the American Museum of Natural History, and I'm the next season's host for Nova Science Now. Over the years, I've collected all kinds of weird, cool stuff, and I've gathered most of it here in my office. One of the things in particular that intrigues me is the extent to which the universe has become part of our culture. Apollo 11 Inc. Why it's called Apollo 11 Inc., I have no idea, although I did buy the pen, the rocket pen. This is a Starry Night pillow, which if you squeeze the moon, then the stars light up. This in particular, this lamp, is very dear to me. It's inspired by Saturn, and I made it while I was in 7th grade in woodshop. I look forward to seeing all of you again on Nova Science Now.
Nova is a production of WGBH Boston.
Google is proud to support Nova in the search for knowledge. Google.
Major funding for Nova is provided by the Howard Hughes Medical Institute, serving society through biomedical research and science education, HHMI.
And by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
We are PBS.
Broadcast support for Nova is provided in part by Vermont Yankee, providing for over 1/3 of Vermont's total electric energy needs. By the Fuel and Utility Systems Division of Goodrich Corporation in Vergennes, a significant contributor to education in Vermont for more than 50 years. Additional funding is provided by contributing Vermont Public Television members like you. Here's what's coming up tonight on Vermont Public Television, Vermont's statewide public television network.
I'm John King. Midsummer marks the beginning of yet another Vermont Country Fair season, a time to recall our region's rich agricultural past and to celebrate its modern-day version. Despite cycles of economic challenge and success, many Vermonters still rely on farming as a source of income and as a way of life that best captures our regional spirit and natural landscape. So as the fall harvest approaches, farmers and townsfolk alike gather as they have for well over a century to display and marvel at the skills and products that set Vermont agriculture apart. You can join the celebration by attending one of the many fair events this summer at a nearby field or fairground. You'll be surprised at the wonders you'll see and what you'll learn, and yes, even how much you can eat. For more information, dates, and locations of agricultural fairs and festivals throughout Vermont, go to vpt.org. Have a wonderful month of August, and we'll be looking for you at the fair. For VPT and You, I'm John King.
Are you now? Have you ever
American Masters presents the story of a friendship destroyed by the blacklist.
The witch hunts of the McCarthy era.
Director Ilya Kazan named names.
He gets his film career.
Playwright Arthur Miller refused.
A grand jury indicted Miller.
My husband will win this case.
Each turned his choice into works of great passion.
Ones of social protest.
I saw Goody Fibber with the devil!
Miller, Kazan, The Blacklist, None Without Sin on American Masters.
Coming to you Wednesday at 9 on VPT.
Commander Adam Dalgleish returns to mystery.
Is the murder place? This is the Dupain Museum. One of the rooms deals with murder cases.
There's been a murder, or more accurately, a suspicious death.
Emma, I have to go.
It was an accident!
There's no way it could have been an accident.
Copycat murders.
P.D. James' The Murder Room on Mystery.
Don't miss it Saturday night at 9 on Vermont Public Television.
Broadcast of Wide Angle on Vermont Public Television is supported in part by SovereignNet Communications, celebrating 10 years of business in Vermont. Telephone and high-speed internet services from a local company committed to our communities, keeping jobs local, connections global. SovereignNet Communications, Vermont's sovereign connection. This program is also supported by contributing members like you.
Tonight on Wide Angle, Turkey, where separation of mosque and state is the law, but a new breed of Islamic capitalism is emerging.
Before the mosque, there were no businesses here. The businesses and mosque were built at the same time. We broke ground on 139 businesses in one day and were nominated for the Guinness Book of World Records.
Power lunches and prayers, piety and profit. Next on Wide Angle. Major funding for Wide Angle has been provided by the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation, making grants to promote international understanding and address the root causes of global poverty. Mutual of America, designing customized individual and group retirement products. That's why we're your retirement company. The John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, Bernard and Irene Schwartz, the Jacob Burns Foundation, Ford Foundation, the Miriam and Ira D. Wallach Foundation, and contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to Wide Angle. I'm Daljit Dhaliwal. It could be the role model for the Bush administration's program for democracy in the Islamic world. A Muslim nation that holds free, fair and democratic elections, is a member of NATO and has a booming economy. Since 2002, Turkey's been governed by a conservative religious party that still abides by the secular political rules. As discord between the West and the Islamic world deepens, Turkey's importance as a U.S. partner in the region only grows. Tonight's Wide Angle portrays this delicate balance of democracy and Islam and follows a group of business leaders for whom the teachings of the Quran are a pathway to growth and prosperity. After the film, we speak with Turkish political cartoonist Salia Mehmetcan.
It's okay to make fun of things, because when you make fun of things, you know, people don't take it as seriously, and the solution becomes much easier.
Stay with us.
Turkey, a Muslim nation, secular by law, where piety is on the rise. And businessmen are pursuing wealth, faith, and fashion. They represent a new face of Islam, both devout and profit-driven. They're earning the name Turkey's Tigers.
Islam has 5 pillars. 3 of them are about worship and the body. 2 of them are about business. If you don't do business, you can't go on your pilgrimage. If you don't do business, you can't give to charity. So you need to earn money in order to go on your pilgrimage and help others.
Mustafa Karaduman's business is the design and manufacture of women's clothing made according to a strict interpretation of the Quran.
Its north coast. Apparently, back in its heyday in the 60s and 70s, this beach used to be a right old hippie hangout. There'd be like beach party, booze, topless women dancing around. And then it got a bit built up, as you can see, a few new hotels. But still, I think it's a great beach. 15 minutes from the city, just come here and chill out. Not many people around. Beautiful. Malaysia is a predominantly Muslim country, and since 9/11, Batu Ferenghi has attracted large amounts of holidaymakers from the Middle East in search of a more welcoming alternative to the United States or Europe.
Many people came here from Saudi Arabia, honeymoon, because you know it's nice people, very nice. We like these places.
Penang's cultural mix is perfectly reflected in its cooking. The island is famous throughout Malaysia for food, and you don't have to spend a lot of money to sample its delights. Hawker stalls like these are everywhere, offering Malaysia's finest and weirdest dishes. John is a local foodie who knows his way around the hawkers like the back of his chopsticks. So what we're going to order?
What you have to do is to go to the laksa stall.
The what stall? What's a laksa?
Over there. This is asam laksa. Now this is one dish you must try.
Okay, what's in it?
It's actually white rice noodle. It's garnished with mint, onions, chili.
Wow.
But the soup itself is what makes the asam laksa different.
Yeah.
That is the soup. Now,
that looks like the River Thames on a bad day.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
But it's supposed to be extremely sour.
Yeah.
Women love it. That's all I know.
Women love it? No, but we're talking about the food, yeah?
I know, but women love asam laksa.
Okay. If we sit here, yeah?
Yeah.
How are they going to know to bring our food?
They'll know.
So they just look around and they'll see us here. Okay. Ah,
that's your asam laksa.
Thank you. The tamlan soup, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh. Oh yeah, you can taste the shrimp and the tamarind. Of course, nice. That's good for a cold, I tell you.
Yeah.
It's got a lovely picture. I like that. you taking me now?
We're going to give you a dessert to clean your palate in the very best possible way, okay? This is ice kacang, yeah? Now this is all the things that you can see, right?
All this in one dish,
All this in one dish.
That colour is unnatural. That is unnatural. What would that go with? Nothing. That goes with rice and chili, maybe.
Oh, okay.
What's that? What is that? Nobody knows what that is. It doesn't go with that.
No, no. There you go. Now try it.
Actually, that's not too bad.
Absolutely.
I take it all back. It's unnatural, but it's not too bad. No. Actually, yeah, that's not... I am shocked, actually. That's quite good.
It's good, isn't it?
It looks like a disaster, cat puke mess, but it's not too bad.
It's very good.
I'm heading north across the Andaman Sea to the unspoiled island paradise of Langkawi. The Langkawi Islands are famous for their secluded beaches, dense rainforest and unique wildlife. There are some pretty amazing five-star resorts here too, but I've come here for adventure. This is Irshad, and he's a jungle guide and a bit of an eco-warrior, and he's promised to show me a side to Langkawi Island that, if you come here and laze around on the beach sunning yourself in a five-star hotel, you'll never see. Much of Langkawi's main island is dense wilderness, limestone cliffs, intricate river systems, and miles of mangroves. What's that? What is it, a seedling?
Yeah, it's a seedling. Let me show you what happens.
All right.
You can't establish your seedlings here.
Yeah.
Because of the high tide,
Yeah.
the mud, the push and pull of the currents.
Yeah.
So while the fruit is still on the tree,
Yeah.
it begins to push down a root. So what you see here is a root. It's designed like a spear. So when this is ripe,
Yeah.
it will break, it will fall and stab the soft mud below.
Yeah.
You see that little bit there?
Yeah.
That's designed to come off, pop off, and in there are two leaves tightly rolled up that will unfurl and allow this plant to go into production in a couple of days. Here comes the eagles.
Wow, look, that is an amazing sight. What kind of eagles are they?
These are mostly Brahmini kites. What they're really doing here is feeding them, which from an ecological point of view is wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, it truly is a beautiful sight, a spectacle, but they're really doing more harm than any good. These birds are getting too used to being fed by people.
Yeah.
Secondly, they're feeding them chicken gut, which is not good for the bird.
Oh, right. Why not?
Well, these birds need protein and calcium in their diet.
Yeah. Well, it's like kids eating fast food rubbish all the time, isn't it?
I agree with you.
No matter where you are on Langkawi main island, you are never more than a few minutes walk from the rainforest. Do you get lots of creepy crawlies because it's alive, like on the ground?
Yeah, around the ground floor you'll get the beetles, the millipedes, termites, ants, lots of ants.
Yeah.
The odd snake or two.
Yeah.
Look here what we've got. We've got a leech.
Oh, yeah, look at that. That's well tucking in, isn't it?
Nice fill, yeah.
That loves you, huh?
There you go.
Oh, you just pull it off with your hand, though, huh?
Yeah, you can.
Is that it looking?
Yeah, he's searching for a nice vein to bite into.
I'm not being funny, but leeches, mosquitoes must die, yeah?
Yeah, usually people try to get rid of him, but I don't, you know. This is his area, and, you know, after sucking on my blood, he's not going to bother anybody for about 3 or 4 months.
Yeah?
Not another tourist anyway.
You're more forgiving than me.
This is Malaysia's most famous herb. This is called Tongkat Ali.
Tongkat Ali?
It means Ali's walking stick. If a man takes it, it's a powerful aphrodisiac.
Not that old chestnut again. Every country I go to, it's like, oh, aphrodisiac.
But the good thing
does it work?
It certainly does.
Yeah. I might have to have a little taste there. Just eat it?
Yeah, just chew on it.
Okay.
It's great. You know, you got to chew it immediately, yeah.
Okay. Right, darling? Yeah. I'll be over. Excuse me. You're right, it works, huh? Wild otter, so I'm going to stay here for just a bit longer, I think. I surrender! No.
Something about a snake catcher.
Yeah? Yeah. Well, they found a big snake, say?
I think so.
Yeah! Oh, yeah, wow.
Careful.
Oh, yeah.
Just got a king cobra. Careful.
Oh. Look at that thing, huh?
Oh.
Oi.
Oh. Don't come too close.
So what type of snake is this, you say?
This is a king cobra.
Yeah.
It's a snake that eats snakes.
Is it?
Yes. He eats snakes for breakfast.
Oh, look at that. King cobras are not common in Langkawi, but one bite can be lethal. But fear not, Osman here is renowned for his snake catching skills. He even made the Guinness Book of Records for spending days in a room filled with cobras. The master, man. Oh, no. I can have a go at that. Is the snake ready? I see that mark there that looks like a burn. Is that a snake bite?
There's a snake bite.
I got bit by a mosquito somewhere. There. Can you see that? So how do you get started? How do you become a snake wrangler? I mean, you start with ants, then move up to spiders, and then eventually get to snakes. How does it work?
Okay, the main reason is because I would like to become a jungle guide.
Yeah.
And I think that it is my responsibility if I have people with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to know.
But not many people like try and kiss them on the head, yeah? There's like a difference between learning about them and then giving them a kiss. How do you learn that?
Okay, when you have cat.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, a cat. A small little cuddly cat, yeah.
You're going to rub the head first.
Yeah.
Hello, kitty.
Yeah.
A snake charmer. Hello, how are you today?
So you just think cat?
Yeah.
I'll be all right.
Make it more positive.
You're beginning to scare me now.
Yes.
Ching is one of Langkawi's highest peaks, and the view from its suspension bridge is not to be missed. Wow, look at that view.
Isn't that beautiful?
I can see why you love this island. I'm heading across the South China Sea to Malaysia's most mysterious and untamed provinces, Sarawak and Sabah, on the island of Borneo. Sarawak is home to a variety of indigenous tribes. My guide, Asia, is taking me up the Lemonak River and deep into the rainforest to meet a community of Ebans, once infamous for their headhunting practices. Tammy, what does the word headhunter mean?
Well, headhunter here means we cut off people's head.
I thought it might do.
When they cut the head off, it's sort of, you have the power of the dead, and they collect the head to put in the house to protect.
Okay. The Iban is one of the oldest tribes in Borneo. Many of them still live in a close-knit community of the longhouses, dotted all along the river. Each longhouse represents an entire village, and some can accommodate up to 30 families under one roof. Looks like the whole tribe are out for us. Fantastic.
I'd like to introduce you to the chief.
Yeah.
Baru Masingke here.
I know. Thank you. Tell him it's an honour for me to be here. It's a beautiful house. It's beautiful.
He have a head skull.
Really? Wow. What? Through there?
Point it to you.
Wow, that's surreal, eh? That's a little bit scary, actually. Real human heads hanging up in the attic. What a sight. The Iban are experts at living off the jungle, and over the centuries have discovered some interesting sources of protein. Oh no, look at that dirty beast. Don't tell me they eat them things.
Yes.
Oh no, why? Oh, it's not nice. Oh, what they are is beetle maggots. Is there a trick to eating these things?
Yes, you have to bite the heads off.
Why?
Because if you don't, if you swallow it, you go inside your stomach and it crawls inside and you start biting inside.
Oh. Bottoms up, gents, yeah? Oh, their head is still moving, man. Oh, it's disgusting, yeah? But it's full of protein, and that's the main thing, hey? Here we go, there's a bit of a ceremony going on this afternoon. So we're looking for a sacrifice, which gladly doesn't involve me. It's going to be a pig, and we're going to go and pick it. And I'm with the chief, yeah? With the chief. It's like a bit of a mystery. Oh, I just stood in something. What? What you do? Round his leg?
Yeah.
Go top that. Round one. Okay.
Oi. Ya, pedak go top. Ya.
I almost feel sorry.
Tak malu mak. Ya. Tali tu.
Oh.
Ya, tali ya.
Cut the string. Thank God for that. Just for a moment. I thought. Yeah. What? Wrong side. Oh, I really thought that was. I was going to have to cut the. The pigs are being used in a fortune-telling ritual for the chief and his family. But before the ceremony can begin, they must be cleansed and made presentable to the spirits. Nice to meet you there. This is Mr. Undy. He's the shaman of the village, and he's going to perform the ceremony of the fortune-telling for the pigs back there. And look at these amazing tattoos. These are like to show where he's been in Borneo. Unbelievable, they're beautiful. But the best one is this under the neck. If you can see that, that's shaped like a human, but it hasn't got a head, and that signifies so everyone knows it's like a headhunter tribe. Have you seen my tattoo there? Look at that. But what are you laughing at there? I could have got it bigger, but it hurt too much. So what's this guy doing with the chicken, Archer?
They're doing the blessing for them.
And who are these three people? I see the chief, but the other two?
Those are the son and the nephew.
Yeah. Oh, so they're going to get their fortune told?
Yes. They're going to kill the pigs and they cut off the liver and read through the liver whether it's good or bad.
Yeah. That's the pig on it. Whose is this one? Your one? Yeah, this is the chief's one. Is that good? Well, that's it, yeah. They've bred the livers of the pigs now. And apparently the kids' one was really good. The son's one was good. But the chief's, it was good. But there was a little bit of discrepancy because the white bit was on the left, so he's got to watch out. It's like a warning, just keep your eyes open. Hornbill dance is inspired by the great hornbill, a bird commonly associated with the Borneo rainforests. The dance is traditional at Iban celebrations and everybody is expected to join in. They're putting that rice wine, but this longhouse is starting to feel more like a dodgy wedding reception. This whole place is alive, man. Morning. Buggy. I recognise her from last night. How can anyone sleep with them bloomin' cockles and... Is there any more of that rice wine left? The Malaysian state of Sabah covers much of northern Borneo, and it is home to some of the oldest rainforests in the world, Malaysia's tallest mountain and the second largest ape on the planet, the orangutan. I'm off to the Sepalok Orangutan Sanctuary, and what it is, it's an organisation set up to look after orphan orangutans, because Borneo is one of the last places where they're hanging on by a thread because they're endangered. And one way to raise money is you can adopt your own baby orangutan. This is Naru, and I've adopted him, and look, is that a little resemblance there? No, I was joking, yeah? There are approximately 15,000 orangutans left in the wild, and at the current rate they'll be extinct in 10 years. The Sepalok Orangutan Centre was set up to help rehabilitate orphans and injured apes and return them to the wild. This is Arudu. She's one of the youngest orangutans here. She was abandoned at, I think it was 3 months by a mum. There must have been some kind of trouble, because they don't usually do that. Then she was a pet for a few months, and then the pet owner actually handed her into the centre because it's illegal to keep orangutans as pet. And now she's doing well, and she's 1 year old. Still in a nappy though, I noticed her. Look at this, how ridiculous is this? Oh, it's great, wouldn't that be brilliant that they all fall out on the concrete? And then I get the sack at the centre for hurting the orangutans. We're taking them over there to be weighed. This is how they come out every morning, because you have to do it every day. Look at that, isn't it? Right, 8.5. See me after class, yeah? Yeah, you know you've been naughty. Yeah. Visitors are welcome to the centre and can view the orangutans daily during feeding times. Photographs are allowed, but no touching.
It is a lifetime dream for me to come and see these little people, and I really don't know who's looking at who. Are they looking at us or are we looking at them?
Orangutan means man of the forest in Malay, but many of these apes that come here have little or no knowledge of how to survive in the jungle and have to be reintroduced step by step. Sheena is a primate specialist who monitors the orangutans as they are returned into the wild.
This is sort of the halfway house between when they've come into the centre and to just before they go out into the reserve.
What have you found? What is the thing that you adore about the orangutans?
I find they're just so peaceful and just very gentle creatures. Absolutely
Their
amazing.
faces, they're like old men caught in young bodies. They look like.
They do, and their mouths are just amazing, the way they're so sort of mobile.
Yeah. What would happen to these orangutans if you hadn't taken them into the centre?
The centre wasn't here, and these orangutans would probably have died.
Really?
Yeah.
This is Sue, and she's like the founder of the Cephalot Orangutan Appeal UK. That's right. She's going to introduce me to my adopted orangutan, is that right?
I am.
What's his
Little
name?
baby Naru.
How much of a baby is he?
3 years old.
Yeah?
Yes.
So this is...
Naru.
I've adopted, yeah?
Yes.
Hello?
There's one thing we have to say about Naru.
it?
He's very, very
How come?
naughty.
What's he get up to?
He's a thug, which is why we thought it would suit you perfectly.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Sue. Cheers for that.
No problem.
Hello? Oi. Look at
He
that. He's
doesn't
playing
wanna
hard
look
to
at
get. He's been all quiet, just like a kid, huh? Isn't it? Isn't it? Just like a kid. Cool.
Come on, Naru. Oh, that's a nice. There's a good boy. See, he's stamping his foot. He doesn't like it.
Bored. It's good that we got that bond, you know, straight away. Do you know what I mean? Sue? Sheena? Yeah, you can let me out now, thanks. Yeah, it's funny. Sue? Get the key, I can see it from here. Go get the key. Yeah, you're so intelligent. Go and get it, yeah? You're supposed to be opening it, not kissing it. As my journey comes to an end, my biggest challenge awaits. To climb one of the tallest peaks in Southeast Asia, Mount Kinabalu. Oh, there she is. That's the beast. Mount Kinabalu. 4,093 metres. Straight up to the top. You can just work it out. That's where I'm heading. The climb takes 2 days. One day is 4 miles through rainforest, and day 2 a grueling 1.5 miles to the summit. Zany was my local guide, and you need one if you're going to attempt the climb. So Zany, how many times have you climbed this mountain?
I lost count, but...
Lost count?
Yes, but I think it's more than 50 or 60 times.
Really? Blimey. Don't it get a bit boring?
Yes.
It does. What's this part called?
Some people call it Stairway to Heaven.
Stairway to Heaven? Now you're talking, dude.
I prefer to call it knee to chin. Look at the step there.
We just been to the top of Kinabalu. We just took it really slowly up there because we're a bit in a bad shape. Yeah, but I'm glad we did that because there's a lot of people who had attitude sickness and yeah, couldn't climb all the way up. And we did. We did it. That's really good.
there's no roads up the mountain, so all supplies must be carried on foot by the locals. Oh, unbelievable. Look at that. That is huge. That weighs more than I do. Respect. Oh, yeah. Kinabalu means the revered place of the dead, and the mountain was believed to be the sacred resting place of ancestral spirits. Wow, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a boundary here between the living and the dead. When the first climb, they have to perform a sacrificial ceremony. So they
like sacrifice a chicken?
Sacrifice 7 white chicken. So this ceremony is performed once a year.
Oh, it's still performed,
yeah,
is
it's
it?
Still performed.
Do you believe in it? I didn't see no chickens in your pack.
I maybe partly believe in it.
Yeah? Oh, at last. Lodgings are conveniently situated at the foot of the summit. Here we are. I'm just going to show you the accommodation there. It's not quite 5-star, but you know, you can't have them all. As you can see, there's the corridor. That's all the rooms. Here is like where all the travellers meet to like swap stories. Disappointed there's not many people because I've got so many travel stories. So here's the gem. This is the kitchen. There was a rat in the corner, but seems to have disappeared. But I'm sure it'll be back later. It's not quite what I'm... Oh, my... Oh, dear. And that's it. Night. Oh, yeah. 2 o'clock in the morning. This is the start of the big push right to the top. It's got steeper, colder. I swear the air is thinning out. I'm feeling good. Whew. The final stretch is only 1.5 miles, but it's slow going. And if you want to reach the top by dawn, you have to start early. Yeah, it's a bit tough now. Yeah, a little bit tough. Nearly there. Where's everyone going? Have I missed something? Oh, I tell you, getting up this morning was an absolute nightmare. My head felt like it was being squashed all night in a vice. It was freezing, it was dark outside, but now I'm here, I do get it. Look at that, that is stunning. And I have to say, Malaysia has got to be one of the perfect travel destinations. It seems to have something for everybody. And look at this, perfect place to finish the whole journey. The highest peak in Borneo. Fantastic.
Stay tuned for a special Globe Trekker Extra. Funding for this program is provided by Subaru. The world is a playground. Question is, are you getting dirty enough? Subaru, all-wheel drive, proud and logical sponsor of Globe Trekker.
You can find out more about this series on our website. Programs from the Globe Trekker series are available on videocassette and selected titles with extra features on DVD. Music from the series is available on CD. You can also order the new Globe Trekker Annual, featuring information on festivals, events, and outdoor activities. A companion book, Great Festivals of the World, is also available. To order Globe Trekker products, call 888-565-0361 or visit the website www.globetrekkertv.com. Caracol is one of Belize's most inaccessible ruins. It's 3 hours by four-wheel drive from the nearest main road up through pine and rainforest. The site is still being excavated, and Joanne, student archaeologist, showed me around.
What's been your most exciting find? Well, I've gotten 2 burials so far, and in fact, I'll take you to go see one right now.
You mean you've uncovered?
Yeah, exactly.
Bodies.
Exactly.
Wow.
Here we have the largest amount of tombs and burials than any other Maya site in the Mesoamerican area, so
really,
it's very interesting. In fact, I've got one here that I'd like to show you, but you might want to go around that side and squat down for a better view.
Oh my God, look at that.
Yeah.
When did you find this?
Actually, yesterday we removed this very large slate slab, and the first thing that you saw was the top of the person's skull, and right next to it was a 7-centimeter obsidian blade. And what you have here is a flexed burial in a very small crypt. So here are all the leg bones. The leg bones are all up like this, and there's actually a foot right there, and the eyes are facing directly north.
Can you tell if that's a man or a woman?
Not right now. We've just got the very top level of the pelvic bones. Once we're able to dig deeper, we'll be able to see the notch, which signifies whether or not it was a male or female.
The Maya deliberately sited Caracol deep in the jungle and 12 miles from fresh water so that the enemy could not easily locate them. Their man-made reservoir is still used over 1,000 years later by archaeologists. The city of Chichen Itza dominated the Yucatan Peninsula until the 13th century. At a time when Europe languished in the Dark Ages, the Maya cleared dense jungles to construct canals, roads, and giant temples, and all without the use of metal tools, the wheel, or beasts of burden. Unlike the Aztec and the Inca, the Maya never had a unified empire. Their lands were a collection of independent and often warring city-states. Ritual bloodletting and human sacrifice formed a fundamental part of the culture, even when it came to playing ball.
The game ended with a human sacrifice. The 2 leaders supposed to try to make a point by putting the ball through the hoop. This is the winner, holding the head of the one that lost his head, the one that didn't score. It's offering to the sun god. On this side, you can notice the right hand is holding the knife, the blade he used to cut the head of the loser.
The name Chichen Itza means mouth of the well of the Itzas, and it was into this well that offerings to the gods were thrown. In 1923, archaeologists dredged up priceless artifacts and the skeletons of the men, women, and children sacrificed here.
If I clap my hand, you're going to hear it 7 times. Now, listen.
But it's the architecture which impresses most. The Maya were masters of astronomy and mathematics. They invented the zero centuries before the Old World and lived by a calendar which is even more accurate than our own today. Their temples were aligned so precisely that windows and doors were used as celestial observatories.
91 steps on either side, which gives the total of 364 days of steps.
The top platform represents the 365th day of the year. This, then, is the Mayan calendar formed in stone. Hidden in these vast jungles lie hundreds of great Mayan cities, and every day archaeologists unearth extraordinary structures and priceless artifacts. But of the discoveries so far, the giant among Mayan cities is Tikal, where over 3,000 structures have been found in an area of 50 square miles. The Maya settled here around 400 BC. By the time of Christ, the central plaza was taking shape, and by 250 AD, it was an important ceremonial center. Tikal struggled under the yoke of Karakol for 150 years, until 700 AD. And 200 years later, this beautiful city had been, yes, you guessed it, abandoned. Why?
I've heard from my dad who studies that there was some rivers found in the area that were dried up, and it was a gradual seasonal change. They ran out of water.
They were so into sacrifices that like all the beautiful people got sacrificed, all the strongest people got sacrificed. They just like ruined their gene pool. They became a weak species.
I think the Mayans eventually killed themselves off in wars that they had between themselves.
Local broadcast of Globe Trekker on Vermont Public Television is supported in part by Plaza Volare at the Sheraton 4 Points in Dorval, specializing in corporate conferences, wedding receptions, and events for all occasions. By Delamore premium pasta sauces with no added salt or sugar. Family recipes from our grandmother Philomena, made locally in Vermont for 2 decades. Delamore sauces, available at Hannaford supermarkets. By Milne Travel American Express, in their 3rd decade of serving northern New England's vacation and business travelers, with locations in Burlington, Barrie, Middlebury, and West Lebanon. Funding is also provided by
In Beirut, you have a wide range of hotels to choose from, though some can be quite pricey. I found a small backpacker's place which is near the seafront and unusual being so centrally located. Hi, do you have a room?
Yes. Yes. Because I have single room with bathroom and last you are $25.
Perfect, I'll take it.
Just your passport?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. So, I notice your English is very, very good. What languages are here? Arabic first?
The first language is Arabic, the second language is French, and almost people speak English here.
Okay.
This is the bathroom. Okay, if you want anything, tell me.
I do.
See you later.
Merci.
Bye.
Shukran. Au revoir. Bye. Thank you. All right, that's good. The English thing is helpful. You know, my Arabic is a little rusty. But, so I was expecting this kind of frenzied, crazy place. Oh, Beirut is very tense, but it's totally chill. It's so beautiful. It's really hot. But it's this kind of tranquility that I wasn't really prepared for. As peaceful as it may sometimes seem, and although the Civil War has long been over, fighting can still flare up at any time. And the region itself is still unstable. It's thought that as many as 20 million Lebanese emigrated during the Civil War. But many have since returned, and 2 million people now live here in Beirut. That's half the country's population, made up of 40% Christian and 60% Muslim. So that's the Hariri Mosque, and this is St. George's Cathedral. We've got a mosque sitting right next to a church. Didn't expect to see that. Although the city is divided between Christian and Muslim, with the Civil War now over, the two groups do intermingle. There is still Middle Eastern conflict in Lebanon, but tensions between these two groups remain below the surface. to go from A to B. However, here there's another option. It's called service. Basically, taxis have different routes around town. They'll pull up, they'll beep, you say where you're going. If you're headed their way, you hop in. It's a cheaper option. And the thing is, you get to share with people. Basura. Basura. Hey! Yay! Basura!
Oui, Bashura.
Hi.
Hi.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, ça va?
Marhaban. Hey, merci, merci. How much is this?
1,000.
1,000. That's a bargain. That's about 60 cents.
Thank you. Taxi?
Hello. Hello.
Amra, oui.
Right. So you don't go to your destination Marhaban, directly. They stop, they pick people up, they drop people off. You'll get there eventually, but who's in a hurry?
اليمين؟ مفرق هذا؟ لا.
لا،
روح على اليمين لتلف وترجع.
Fine, how are you? Yes. You all?
Thank you.
Au revoir, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I'm going to scoot over and give you some space. And the traffic here, I have to tell you, is crazy. Even crossing the street, there really seem to be no rules. If the light is red, well, maybe it's red. Maybe you just go through the red light.
Okay.
It is one of the craziest places I've been driving before.
Thank
Is it you? Au revoir. Enchanté. C'est ça. Aha. All right. It's just me. Should we pick up some other people? For a quick snack, I found a highly recommended cafe serving the most famous of Lebanese fast food. Hello. Aha, the falafel. Hello, sir. One falafel sandwich, please. I want everything. This is supposed to be the best falafel in town. Apparently you know this because of the number of taxi drivers who are here. Shukran. Vegetarian. Yes. No meat, no chicken, vegetarian. Chickpeas fried. Very good. Oh, it's very good. This is the best fast food that you can have while you're in town. Quick, costs about $1. You get fluorescent pink turnips with it. I'm gonna take it away. It was hot. I want them. I can do it. Fluffen. You know, fluffen. Shukran. Thank you. Thank you. Shukran. What a deal. All right. Uh-huh. Oh, it's really good. I think it's all about the mint. I'm not sure it's all about the fluorescent pink turnip. It's definitely more about the mint.
The first thing you should do is to get an up-to-date map, because since the war ended and the reconstruction is going on, the map is changing and the streets are changing and you're not going to find what you're looking for.
Basta is an old neighborhood on the border of East and West Beirut, where you can still feel the flavor of the city from before the war. So the street signs are in Arabic and in French, but I've still managed to get a bit lost. And I'm just hoping somebody can... Assalamu alaikum, mahaba. English, anyone? Taheddin Levi.
Me.
You, sir. Where am I now? I've been wandering and I'm lost.
This is here.
Okay, so I'm not as lost as I thought. Right. It's a national pastime.